What happened to agreeing to disagree? Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And today we're going to address a topic that has something to do with a little bit of each generation, I think, that listens to this podcast. Now, I say this because recently a couple of Gen Z listeners jumped on to my subscribers because they're very nice people and they took some sympathy on me. It was very nice to have them join my podcast group. But I know my podcast group now includes a pretty wide array of ages, from the wise to the youthful. So, in that range, I think we have different perspectives on the world. And as the millennial in the group, or one of the millennials, I like to think I sit in the somewhat middle because I don't have quite the wisdom of my elders, and I don't quite have the youthful exuberance of the youth. And I wanted to ask the question because it bugs the hell out of me why we no longer in the world really agree to disagree. It doesn't just have we used to have that. I used to have that conversation a lot, or hear adults have that conversation as well. What is agreeing to disagree before we get too far? Because I think that people have sort of forgotten. Is it as simple as what you hear in agreeing to disagree? Well, no, because it comes with really agreeing to disagree comes with a positive connotation, meaning that when people said to each other, well, let's just agree to disagree, what they were saying in essence was, look, this issue isn't really worth arguing over, and I like you too much to keep arguing about this, right? Like, I value this friendship too much to concern myself with your differing opinion on this issue. Like, we're not going to come to a reasonable conclusion, and because of that, we both recognize the need to step away from this issue and go about our lives. But step away from the issue, not the person. I don't know why I just kind of, for those watching the video, I don't know why I kind of just gestured with my wrists. That was a bit odd. But anyways, we step away from the issue, not the person. We used to have friends that didn't agree with us. And I will say this, Gen Z is going to push back on me on this. And don't worry, Gen Z, I go for after Gen X a little bit here too, and the millennials. But Gen Z really, I've noticed they don't have a lot of friends who strongly disagree with them on sort of key issues. Like, they don't have friends who disagree with them on political things, for example. And that's become a real key issue. Like, if someone if someone is not a conservative, they don't have any conservative friends. They don't have that in their group of friends. Like, they just don't. If someone's conservative, they don't necessarily have any liberal friends. And I don't know which side's fault that is. Excuse me. That being said, why is that phenomenon? Again, it comes back to we no longer have the ability to agree to disagree. When do we notice that? Well, some people would say, well, it obviously was the rise of the President Trump campaign. No, I would push back on that notion because the President Trump campaign really made use of the fact that we no longer agree to disagree, really pointed out that we no longer agree to disagree, and used that as sort of a key campaign point, right? Like, look at the other side. They won't even talk to us. That was sort of a key point of Trump, was that, the swamp, the political insiders, they won't even talk to the outsiders. They won't even hear our opinions. Frankly, it's how so many white supremacists got kind of caught up in that sweep. Like, obviously, I'm not really sure that we can agree to disagree about white supremacy. And stop. I'm going to stop right there for a moment, because there's going to be somebody listening who's going to say, but President Trump is a white supremacist. That claim has been debunked several times, and not just by conservative media outlets, but it's been debunked several times. Now, Has he consorted with white supremacists? That's obviously, you can see that. He also consorted with Jeffrey Epstein, but don't get too far down that rabbit hole, my friends, because you know who else consorted with Jeffrey Epstein? Pretty much every politician before Jeffrey Epstein went to jail. Get that clear. When you talk about politicians, your baseline of person who becomes a politician, there are some exceptions, some notable exceptions, but typically your baseline of politician is not the best person. And it's not that they're not the best person because they're going to be a politician. Studying politics does not make you a bad person. Going into or being interested in local politics or state politics or federal politics does not make you a bad person. It is the act of going into a profession where your goal is specifically not to lead, but to get reelected. That's what happens. Your baseline human being, whether Democrat or Republican, is pretty much the same and not really a great person. If you really want to get into this nitty-gritty issue, you're going to get really upset because you're going to have to look with a pretty hard glass at some of your favorite politicians. So just don't even do it. Don't go down that road. Trump has plenty of warts. I think it's hard to say white supremacy is one of them. Anyways, my point being in all of this, we all these days live in these echo chambers. And why is that? It wasn't the President Trump campaign that started it, though it was the President Trump campaign that pointed it out and took advantage of it. It was, in fact, I will posit, the internet. And not in a bad way, right? It didn't start off in a bad way. The internet became a medium for people who didn't previously know how to find each other to find each other, both good and bad. The nerds who felt like, and again, I got glasses. I was called a nerd plenty in high school. But the nerds who, were afraid to try and, couldn't make friends in high school. They made friends on the internet. The outsiders, they had early YouTube and early Twitter and all that stuff. It also opened the door for bad guys to find each other and make pretty sophisticated networks, but that's a podcast for another day. We'll have to do one about human trafficking at some point. But anyways, the problem comes in is that when you make it really simple to find people who are 100% the same as you, people who align with your interests completely seamlessly, you don't have to make the effort to make friends with people who are different from you. You just don't. Why would you? I could go on this chat forum and make friends with 10 different people who essentially speak the same language as me. And that's an issue. That is a huge issue. Now, millennials are really the ones to blame for this, right? Because we are sort of the progenitors of both the development and the usage of the internet. Gen X is to blame for it as well. But we developed this tool, and then millennials harnessed it for this purpose and opened the door to this kind of siloed communication and thinking. And frankly, we applauded it at the time. The problem is it's gotten so out of hand that we don't know how to get it back. I'm one of the few people I know who can actively look through my contacts and say, my friends of multiple years who have radically different views from me. One of my best friends from kindergarten, and I mean, I've known him since kindergarten, he's remained one of my best friends since, is about, if I'm center right, he's probably solidly left. One of my friends from law school, who I'm excellent friends with, I presided over his wedding. If I'm center right, he's solidly left to deep blue. And we know that about each other, and we love that about each other. I'm his token Republican. I'm not really a Republican, but, the name works. And we laugh about this, and we laugh about this issue. The nice thing, though, and I'll do another podcast because I'm out of time here. I'll do another podcast continuing this discussion. But the nice thing about having people in your close circle who have strong disagreements with you is that it forces you to open your mind and try new things and listen to new ideas, even if you don't ultimately take those ideas on. It's actually important for you to hear them, process them, think about them, and then either accept them, reject them, or modify them. And if you can't do that, guys, I don't know what to tell you. I'm out of time. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.